Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm talking specifically to that guy who got the Edgerunners logo tatted on his crack. That's a loyal choom. Today, I bring another Cyberpunk video showing off all the secrets you missed in Night City's backyard trailer park, aka the Eastern Wastelands. And I'm going over everything, from hidden gigs and Easter eggs to juicy lore that I know will drive you crazy, so don't swipe away. If you're new to the channel, then my name's Ian and I recently launched a new wiki compiling all the secrets I found on Cyberpunk. If you're interested, go check it out. But enough of me, let's get on with the video. To start, what is the Eastern Wastelands? Well, technically it's part of the Badlands. You know, that brown stuff surrounding Night City? But if I lumped it all into one video, it'd be over an hour. Thank God I didn't do that. So I decided to squint my eyes and focus on the eastern side first, where the only splashes of color are blinding sunlight and choking dust. The Eastern Wasteland is Cyberpunk's Wild West, full of abandoned towns, dying structures, and trailer parks populated by DIY enthusiasts. Here you even have roaming bands of violent gangs that make John Marston look like a cheery Boy Scout. It's a complete 180 from the neon lit Night City, and in truth, it's a setting that makes for some of the creepiest secrets in the game, just like this first one. Have you seen those airships flying around Night City? And no, I'm not talking about the ones with a pink pork sausage dangling from the back. I'm on to you, CD Projekt Red. I'm talking about those fat cargo ships no clipping in the desert. They're owned by DTR, Decker, Tanaka, and Rogers, one of the biggest shipping businesses in Cyberpunk. And what if I said even they're hiding a secret? Just corporate things, am I right? See, if you fast travel to Rocky Ridge and head east, you'll find what's left of those metal sky whales. It's a scene out of Star Wars, and it sucks to say, but you're pretty late to the party. See, the whole thing's been looted. There isn't much to find. But what's interesting is out by the engines. Near one of the exposed holes is a camera on a tripod and the body of Mary Vidor. Honor is some loot and a shard of her talk with Stephen Bell. Apparently, Mary was the reporter seeking answers on the crashed ship. It seems DTR pinned the crash on the pilot, but Mary believed otherwise. DTR trafficking death was her proposed headline, and she insisted on bringing to light tech problems the company failed to report on. Her co-worker Stephen Bell wasn't so hot on the idea, and he asked her repeatedly to drop the story, but Mary insisted, and her last ask was getting Stephen to help her take stills of the wreckage. Which brings us to now. Stephen definitely sold her out. Mary's story could have been legendary, an expose that revealed the sins of a corporation, but no, it's another example of how powerful people weasel their way out of justice. Comment below if you hate Night City. But on the topic of more creepy cyberpunk secrets, did you find the desert film set attack? For my Asian Filipino chooms, it's also a chance to get a free car, and I know you love free. Fast travel to the abandoned film set in the northeastern part of the Wastelands. It's near a fork in the road that looks like a circle. From there, walk forward, and if you're quick enough, you'll catch an AV flying away. But what are they flying away from? Well, it's a full-on movie massacre. From the blood, bodies, and gear left behind, the place was clearly a film set, at least before they were rudely interrupted by the god-awful wraiths. There's some gear on the bodies, but also a shard titled New Ad Shoot. That shard reveals the truth. See, the set belonged to Pseudo, one of Night City's bigger fashion brands, and they specialize in that chic-deaky corporate clothing we know and love. But their newest director, Michael Koch, had an idea, a campaign that showcased both the comfort and practicality of their clothes. They chose the Badlands as their backdrop, but of course they weren't 100% stupid. They worked out a single-day trauma team package for everyone, and just in case, they asked the crew to come packing their own iron if they were comfortable. Points for being prepared, and extra points for being a corporation that cares a little about its employees. At least the AV tells us that some got away. Oh, and don't forget to loot the car keys from one of the bodies. Like dating Pan Am for the first time, congrats on your newest ride. So have you heard the tale of Mannequin Lake? It's exactly what it sounds like, a lake of mannequins. But beneath the surface is something far more sinister. To find it, head to Rocky Ridge and follow the canyon north. The lake's just northeast of here. At first glance, it's terrifying. Truly a sight that'll make your skin crawl. A blood-red lake filled with cold, lifeless bodies. Ugh. It's a scene out of Westworld, where Beatty finds a similar lake filled with meatbags. Or SCP-2316, one of the scarier horror stories going around. If you're a true true SCP fan, you know what to comment below. But here's the truth, it's all just a movie set. See, look around and you'll find legendary loot and a shard titled to the cast and crew of Hell Lake 3. Apparently this was all a set for the filming of the newest Hell Lake movie. The studio, 24 frames per second, lost their biggest sponsor, Constitutional Arms. So with funding in flux, the set was abandoned, and thousands of dollars of equipment left to rust and gather dust. But this takes me back to my first point. I said the truth was far more sinister, right? Well, what's scarier than a lake full of dead bodies in the middle of butt crack nowhere? Unemployment. Yeah, unemployment in this economy is the most terrifying thing. Every horror story starts at a motel. Look, I've stayed at a few in my life and I've never stopped wondering what that stain was on my sheets. But I digress. In Cyberpunk, the Sunset is one of the biggest you'll find, and it's a stop you visited with your Native American queen. But what if I said it's also hiding a secret? A true crime-like secret of betrayal and obsession. Someone tag my fiance because she'd love this. Fast travel to the Sunset Motel and walk on the left side. There you'll find a set of tracks leading back, which you can follow to a car on the water. It doesn't seem like much, but get closer and it'll hit. There are 2 bodies in the water, and one slumped over the car itself. This is a story of Zach and Amy Ray. Zach was Amy's husband, and he was determined to find Amy. But Amy and Zach separated, and she told him to leave her alone for good. Zach, being obsessive and rageful, flipped between insulting her and apologizing. Chooms, don't ever be like this. And finally, she blocked him, leaving Zach to track her down. When he arrived, he obviously didn't find Amy alone. She was with her new lover, and from there, everything spiraled. Zach took his anger out on both of them, and when the realization hit, he turned the same anger onto himself. Ah, love in Night City. And Cyberpunk always finds a way to break your heart. If it ain't a cemetery plaque or this freaking song, then it's a tiny little story the devs snuck in. This is the tale of Dale and Carol. And chooms, get your tissues out. Your crying tissues, that is. Fast travel to Rocky Ridge and head to this corner home. Rocky Ridge was once a commuter town for Night City dreamers, but by 2077, it's been abandoned. But hidden in one of the yards is a single palm tree, and beneath its shade, an old man next to a grave. This is Dale Robinson. On him, you'll find a pair of legendary boots and a shard telling his story. A story of love, loss, and a promise. See, Dale was on a journey to bring his wife back to where their story began, this quaint little home in Rocky Ridge. Dale wrote to her about the good times, the memories they shared, and the dreams they chased in Night City. But like for many, Night City was a place where dreams turned to dust, a city that took more than it gave. When Carol passed, Dale kept his promise. He laid her to rest in the yard of their old house, where she always wanted to be. Then Dale sat down to drink and reminisce, and by her side, he closed his eyes forever. It's a nice reminder that Cyberpunk's more than a game with neon lights and flashy combat. It's a game that touches topics like love and the human spirit. But what do you think?
It's an act.
I'll give you 3 seconds to comment who you think is the strongest corporation in Cyberpunk. And if you said Militech, then you're probably right. See, Militech is one of the strongest in the world. But what if I said even they were getting their Snickers pushed in by some lowly desert cowboys? That's right, Militech is losing power. And here are a few examples that'll shock you. Travel to Rocky Ridge and head east to a fork in the road. There you'll find a sewage area with plenty of loot, hazmat suits, high-end crafting gear, and the bodies of maintenance workers. This is Erik and his crew, a team hired by Militech to patch a leak. Erik asked Militech for protection, being deep in nomad territory and all, but Dispatch brushed him off and assured him he was safe. They promised they'd respond if anything went wrong, but something did go wrong. Erik was attacked and Militech nowhere to be found. But if you head south, you get all the answers you need. There you'll find a convoy surrounded by fire. The loot here is even better. You can even find a hacking shard for you juicy netrunners. But the most important thing is a journal filling the blanks. Turns out Militech did send help, but they arrived too late to save them. Intel suggested the Wraiths were responsible, but when they were packing to leave, their own comms were jammed, and even the powerful Militech was caught off guard and wiped out. The Badlands are supposed to be Militech owned, yet even here, they're weak. Another reminder that even the strongest can lose their footing. And when we talk the best netrunners in Cyberpunk, the list usually goes like this: Bartmoss, Alt Cunningham, and Spider-Murph. Maybe Lucy if you're feeling frisky. But what if I said there are hundreds of other runners being a pain in the ass of Night City, and one in particular has had it pretty rough with the rates? Meet Bad, and how they almost got caught by the Jinx wannabe gangsters. Fast travel to the Edgewood Farms and head east. There you'll find a canyon filled with mines, bodies, and active killer drones. It's clear what happened here. The rates got f***ed, and if you look around, you'll find the body of Rita Sweden. Now I'm going to quickly stop and say that Bad has had encounters with the rates before, mostly positive ones. They helped him disable drones at the rail yard, ambush Maelstrom and Watson, and so much more. But somewhere bad blood was spilled, and the rates wanted payback. So Rita was tasked to find Bad, and they tracked him to this bunker here. But did they catch him? Well, if you step inside, you'll find out. On the table is a single shard, and the verdict? Nah, they definitely didn't. Bad left a little parting gift for Rita and her crew, one that reminds me of a musky Italian plumber. Naughty Bad was playing the whole time. And right here's another secret that reminds us that war is real in Cyberpunk. And no, I'm not talking about the fighting. I'm talking about the consequences, the paranoia, the fear, and the loss. But it's also an easy way to get a legendary item for the techie set. I needed to draw you materialistic chooms in somehow, right? Head to Rocky Ridge and make your way to the furthest house north. The secret we need to find is in the backyard. There you'll find abandoned cars and a cellar leading down. The door's locked, but players with Tech 5 can crack it open easy. And inside you'll find item components, some legendary loot, and a cap to complete your set. But there are still bigger questions. Who owns this bunker, and why did they build it? Well, a journal dated 2069 tells it all. Nice. The bunker belonged to a man who tried to survive the Great War. Noosa had attacked, and with the fighting going on against LA and the Free States, war would eventually reach Night City. He ends his journal with a lesson for future generations: eat more candy. You don't know how precious it is until you run out. But candy didn't save him in the end. Snuggling up to a super powerful corporation did. Every Cyberpunk choom knows how Night City managed to avoid war, and if you're a real one, you'll comment it below. And look, belly shots are a thing. In fact, I do it all the time off my Korean brother Jason. But what if I said there was also belly bombs, and this Cyberpunk pastime can have some pretty explosive results? God, that was low-key cringe. This is the belly bomb extravaganza. Fast travel to the Sunshine Motel in the Eastern Wastelands. Directly behind it is a wind turbine with a trailer at its base. This is the clinic of Dr. Jack Allen, but inside, it's more of a slaughterhouse. It's pretty damn gnarly. I'm talking blood on the floor, guts on the walls, and these nasty-ass metal chairs they had us sit on in elementary school. Yuck. But what happened? Well, if you loot the man slumped over the table, you'll find out. It seems Dr. Allen had an interesting last patient. No headaches, no period cramps, just a belly full of explosives. So he contacted his doctor friend Tim Boone for professional advice. Boone was in town and asked if it could wait, but it seems Allen was pretty pressed for time. So Boone made the recommendation: straight liquid nitrogen, then yank the bomb out and run. That explains what we saw. It feels like a scene straight out of The Dark Knight, and the names Jack Allen and Tim Boone feel so Batman-like. I can't be the only one, right? Comment below what you think. And here's a moral dilemma to start your day. Imagine losing someone you love. The person responsible did their time, and now they're a free man. Do you forgive? Do they deserve more punishment? Comment your thoughts below. But first, let me also introduce you to Dwight and Kevin, and in their words, a little street justice. Fast travel to the Medeski fuel station and head north following the power lines. Beneath one of the giant electrical towers is something twisted. A chair, a plate of food, and a tripod. But what's the camera capturing? Well, it's filming a body. Neck deep in the sands, by the way. What exactly happened? Well, a shard in the backpack tells us that this was the work of Dwight Blair. Dwight's last call was with his brother Kevin, and the topic? The man getting out of prison. This man who flatlined their parents. Kevin believed in moving on. He did his time, he argued, and he insisted on Dwight letting it go and living life, maybe even catching up. But Dwight wasn't ready to let go. He wasn't ready to forgive. And for him, it wasn't enough that justice ran its course. He needed to see the man suffer and feel the pain that they felt. Two brothers, two different paths through grief. One chose forgiveness and the other chose vengeance. What path would you take? Dude, and what if I said that there was almost another terrorist attack in Night City and the only thing that stopped it was dumb freaking luck? Remember this guy? He's a media and close friend to Regina Jones. I'll give you 2 seconds to comment his name below. Got it? Good. The man's Max Jones, and the fire almost started with him. See, Max has a rep for digging into corporate scandals, and he's in touch with a group of veterans exposing crimes the corps tried to hide. And his work inspired a veteran in the Badlands, a veteran who lives in a shack just east of the Medeski fuel station. But don't let the shack's look fool you. The entire place is rigged to blow. There's mines all over, but if you move carefully, you'll find amazing loot inside. I'm talking weapons, armor, and a legendary eyepiece part of the techie set. And out front, the charred remains of an explosion and a draft message to Max himself. The message is pretty dark. It starts with a vet thanking Max for his work, but it gets more deranged and broken. Eventually, the man vows to strike back, using his training to bomb the corporations that hired him, delivering justice in his own way. But his plan blew up in his face, literally. It's a tragedy averted by a single misstep, but maybe the corporations deserved it. What do you think? And what about this one? Kick streamers are real in Cyberpunk. That's a headline, right? I might get canned, but screw it. What's the worst that could happen? Meet Mason and Joe, Night City's messed up streamers. And surprise, surprise, they got themselves into a little bit of trouble. Fast travel to the Sunshine Motel and head southwest into the hills. There you'll find a camp with a camera and two men. Two sleeping men, that is. This is Mason and this is Joe. Together they were the host of, you guessed it, the Mason and Joe Show. Points for your creativity. But don't be fooled because they weren't streaming games or terrorizing Asian communities. No, they were sampling the latest street meals for their viewers. And in this episode, they were trying glitter. And if you aren't familiar with the lore, then let me break it down. Glimmer is one of the worst things you can take. It's a hyper-addictive inhalant that causes seizures, hallucinations, and death. You can thank our favorite Japanese chooms for that one. And so for the views, as they like to say, Mason and Joe took a hit. At first, it was fun and games. Then, like a switch, it wasn't. They lost their vision, then their senses, and then their lives. But not before begging their viewers to send help. But remember, sympathy doesn't sell in Night City, so of course help didn't come. Whatever happened to Let's Plays and mukbangs? Bro, let's bring that back. But remember that Militech group attacked by the Wraiths? Well, what if I said you can find the crew responsible? And spoilers ahead, they're not doing the hottest. Fast travel to the Sunshine Motel and head south to this intersection. There you'll find a boarded up gas station. If you look around, you'll find a suspicious trail of blood. And if you follow it, it'll lead to stairs heading down to a hidden bunker. There's a body on a table, a guy throwing it back, and a man with a hat dead at your feet. Now before we get to the gritty, there's some useful stuff to pick up, like a skill shard and a pair of boots part of the Nomad set. Don't miss these. But back to the story. This was John Lyon and his crew, and they were here to save their friend Bill. See, Bill was shot, and John found this Ripper from his friend Adrian. John's crew was responsible for attacking Militech by the oil pipes, and when reinforcements arrived, they barely had time to scramble their comms and escape. But they got away, so why are they dead here? Well, the last message seals the deal. Adrian warns the Ripper is good, but a bit twitchy, an old booze hound. Something must have gone wrong during Bill's operation. John lost it, attacked, and lost his life in the process. And the Wraiths outside got rid of the Ripper. It's another harsh reminder that drinking on the job can be fatal, so don't do it.